Good afternoon and welcome to World Talks. I'm Salia Strzemska and we're going to discuss Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky is in Ramstein, Germany, to attend the Ukraine Defense Contact Group meeting. The group was established to coordinate allied support and arms deliveries to Ukraine. So what can we expect after the meeting? Are Ukraine's needs being met, or all this aid still merely a drop in the ocean? To discuss this matter and more, I am joined here this afternoon by Gary Tabach, the former Chief of Staff at the NATO Military Liaison Mission in Moscow. Good afternoon, sir.
Hello, Sally. Always good to be, even though microscopic, but still part of Ukraine. Thank you for inviting.
So, ahead of the meeting of the contact group, UK announced it would send Ukraine a package of 650 air defense missiles. Germany said it would deliver 12 howitzers. Meanwhile, Volodymyr Zelensky wrote on Twitter that it is crucial that all the weapons from the already announced support packages finally reach combat brigades. So why this delay and why this disconnect in arms deliveries, in what is being pledged, and sort of how it looks in practice? Looks like in practice.
Well, I believe, again, that, Ramstein, even though it's a great idea, but this is, I believe, a 24th Ramstein meeting. And in the first one, our Secretary of Defense in the United States, General Austin, said that we were going to turn a sky and land over for Ukraine, but yet nothing really is happening, in my opinion, that will make a break or make a turn in this war. Again, there are 50 countries participating in Ramstein meetings, all 32 NATO countries, and they do pledge a lot. And I think this is what President Zelensky is saying. You keep pledging and pledging, but allocations are not there. You're not delivering the things that you were promising. The Ukrainians are constantly short on weapons, on modern weapons, on drones, and defense systems, that will provide long-range capabilities, such as ATACMS and so forth. Again, we're seeing that the Ukrainians cannot defend their skies with the air defenses that are provided. Now, again, only one Patriot is being promised now by Romania. When it will be delivered, it's stretching out. Meanwhile, Ukrainians are dying by thousands trying to defend their land. And I am in Ukraine, in the capital, in Kyiv, and I haven't slept for 4 nights because the bombardment is just nonstop, and the air defenses are very thin. We can see that the death tolls in such cities as Kryvyi Rog and Dnieper and other cities in Kharkiv, that they're just wiping the cities off the face of the earth. And this is almost 3 years, and the West still cannot get their act together to at least provide the defense weaponry to Ukraine.
Right, and there's this other thing that Zelensky probably will lobby for, meaning the use of long-range weapons. Do you think that he'll get the green light from the U.S. eventually?
To be honest with you, not from this administration. If he hasn't gotten a green light for almost 3 years, and we civilized world continue to stand by and watch a whole nation being wiped out, I don't think that will happen. Again and again, they are insisting, the administration in the United States, insisting in that it will continue the path because of the red lines, because they do not want escalation. Yet, that's exactly what we keep getting, escalation. And Russian forces keep creeping up to the Pokrovsk, city of Pokrovsk, and it's a hub. So if they take it over, Ukrainians will be with a lot of trouble. And again, they're destroying their infrastructure. A lot of people are very afraid that they're going to freeze this winter. They're going to just simply freeze this winter. Older people, kids, and so forth. So I do not expect anything to change unless something changes in the leadership of Europe or the leadership of the United States.
Right. I mean, Ursula von der Leyen promised a new 40 million package ahead of winter, so hopefully this will be delivered sooner than these arms that are being delayed. But some are sort of surprised that Zelensky is attending the Ramstein meeting in person and are saying that this is a signal that we've reached a crucial point in the war. Do you agree?
Yes, I fully agree with it. I think if you can take a look at President Zelensky, his appearance now and his appearance in the beginning of the war, it's two different people. He's exhausted, and the Ukrainian people are exhausted. The Ukrainian military is exhausted. They're fighting as hard as they can, but they're fighting against a way bigger force. I mean, it's just not a fair fight, and we're not helping enough. Again, the United States just pledged a defense aid package of $250 million during this Ramstein. To remind you that $250 million is really nothing compared to what American people, American Congress has allocated already in billions of dollars. There are about $9 billion in the Pentagon that's sitting that the president is not releasing in weaponry. What I'm saying, not in money-wise, but in weaponry. Why? Nobody knows. Nobody can give that answer. And it will expire in October. In October, that money will go back into the budget of the United States. So whatever Congress is doing is really falls on deaf ears because the president is not acting on it. And again, to remind you gently that $250 million is that what until the end of the fiscal year, this is what we used to give $300 million a day to Afghanistan while our military was there, while the Afghanis were fighting, or we were fighting men in rags with Kalashnikovs, not the second largest army in the world. And yet we were giving $300 million a day there. And now Ukraine for the rest of the year is going to get another $250 million only in the defense and aid package, which is really a drop in the bucket. Again, it's really cutting and cutting. Each time we deliver less and less and less to help Ukraine when it actually needs more.
So what kind of outcome is Zelensky expecting, do you think? Because he's attending in person, right? He clearly wants to achieve something. But you said that the use of long-range weapons is out of question. So what can he get?
Well, hopefully he can get the air defense capabilities and get long-range missiles, arms, with which he can attack and destroy Russian rear and Russian supply lines and push back the Russian Air Force, which delivers those COBs, those gliding huge 3-ton, 5-ton bombs that destroying absolutely everything in its path. And because Ukrainians are not allowed to do that by us, we're not authorizing them to do it, they cannot really fight the Russians. They're fighting with their hands tied behind their back, and they've been doing it for a very, very long time. So hopefully, because he was there, the world, the civilized world, we're the citizens of the civilized world, will realize the dire need for Ukrainians to defend themselves, provide them with the air defense, with the long-range capabilities, and authorize them to do that. Because this is not how you stop a tyrant, not trying to appease him or to please him or try to negotiate with him. I think the history has taught us many lessons when the Prime Minister of Britain, Chamberlain, kept trying to negotiate and kept trying to pacify Hitler. Did not work, and it never does.
Right. And so let's take a closer look at the Kursk offensive. I'm quite curious. Do you think that this will be one of the topics? And it took NATO a while, right, to issue this formal approval of what unfolded.
Well, because I think the NATO, as you know, those of us who served in the NATO, we say that NATO does not stand for a North Atlantic Treaty Organization, but it stands for no action, talk only. The thing is, once Ukrainians took that step, once Ukrainians made that decision and did strike inside of Russian territory, NATO said, and the White House in the United States says, oh, well, okay, well, then it's okay. If they did that, they have the right to do it. So, as we say in the military, it's better to ask forgiveness than to ask permission, because you will never get a permission to do anything from the bureaucratic, especially multinational bureaucratic organizations. And as you know, the even when Poland tried to take charge and say they were going to shoot the missiles down that trajectory directs towards Poland, all of a sudden, the Secretary General of NATO called them up and says, "No, you cannot do that." Why? God knows, because we don't want escalation. We don't. It's a red line drawn by Putin. You can't deal with a crocodile, with the alligator, trying to negotiate with them. As Golda Meir said, you can't negotiate with people who came to kill you.
Okay, but why is not the same kind of logic being used towards the long-range weapons as was supposedly used when deciding on the Kursk offensive?
Well, they didn't. The Ukrainians do. They periodically do use those long-range weapons, and then they get chewed out. And then they get says, "Listen, if you're going to do that, you don't get any more." And they say, "Oh, okay, it was a mistake," and things like that. They do try to do their best and operate with what they have, but again, they have to balance those things out. And I think they took the opportunity, and the window of opportunity was open for them to enter the Kursk region because the border was not guarded by the Russians. And again, the question is, why weren't the Russians securing their border with a country which they're at war with? So Ukrainians are just kind of waltzed in, not almost, but they walked in with a minimum resistance and occupied quite large territory. Again, they probably could have occupied more if they could have used those long-range capabilities. But since they can't do that from their border, they can't move it into the Russian territory, so they stopped, and they're trying to secure that captured land with whatever means they have.
Right, Gary, just at the end, let me ask you about, because we've been discussing what Ukraine needs, right? But what about these other countries? Could they want something from Ukraine? We just saw this massive government reshuffle, revamp, so to speak. And so do you think that Zelensky is trying to show something to the West and to his allies?
I don't know. It's very difficult for me to say because I'm not a politician. I'm not even a journalist. But I think they're trying to do their best. They're trying to do. I think that, again, I don't get involved in internal politics of Ukraine. I have plenty of my own politics in my own country. But I think he's trying, and the government of Ukraine is trying to do whatever they can to please the West, because the West kept saying, okay, of course, that's the West that has the problem with corruption themselves, as in my country, saying to Ukrainians, you got to fight corruption, you got to fight corruption. Oh, okay, well, we changed the ministers and half of the cabinet is gone and we're going to place new people, new blood. That way of fighting the corruption, I'm not sure what they're trying to show to them, but I think that to be brutal and probably unfair, I would say that, in my opinion, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine was not doing a good job. It was not doing a good job. It wasn't making friends as it's supposed to make friends with its allies. So the resignation of the foreign minister is probably to show allies such as Poland the good intentions that Ukraine has with its neighbors.
Absolutely. Gary Tabach, thank you, sir, for being with us this afternoon. Much appreciated. And thank you for watching World Talks. Please stay tuned for more here on TVP World.